Oh my god, I love whacking it outside. It's Friday again, you know what that means. Nerds all over the world are gathering at your local game stores to compete in Friday Night Magic. I have no idea. Oh, is this Magic the Gathering? Kevin loves Magic the Gathering. I have no idea what it is. I'm sure he might have even tried to explain it to me sometimes, but I just don't pay attention. I'm sorry, Kevster. Kev wrote it. I read it. That's the format of the show. And far more relevant assignment interest is it's Florida Man Friday. Yes, please. To date, the most popular Florida Man Friday episode, by a pretty wide margin, has been the Kink Edition. A big part of that maybe because the thumbnail featured Simon's face next to a sticker that said, I eat ass. But it certainly seems to suggest that the viewers of Brain Blaze are all a bunch of filthy degenerates.
You're goddamn right.
You know you are. And the I eat ass was a bumper sticker on someone else's car, not my car. Steady. But if degeneracy is what the people want, then it's time to ramp that degeneracy up to 11. Why settle for an episode centered around references to various kinks? Or we could just go full-on hardcore pornographic. I don't know, Kevin, maybe because we can't do that on YouTube. Where are you going? You're all about to watch bodily fluids going everywhere, holes getting stuffed with God knows what, and your blindfold being removed by a surprising third party. Or, you know what? Whatever the YouTube-friendly equivalent of that is, oh thank God. And I really hope all those statements don't get this video demonetized / banned / age restricted, whatever, but I'm sure they have. So thank you, Kevin, and thank you, me, for not bothering to read this ahead. Yes. So sit back and either relax or become profoundly uncomfortable for Florida Man's adventures with pornography. Florida Man embezzles $13 million and spends it on a porn site. Holy shit. Is that even possible? At first, this headline probably sounds confusing and or depressing. In a moment, though, it's going to sound brilliant, but it will quickly become confusing again. Allow me to explain. I am already confused, Kevin. It all began in 2014 with then 52-year-old Florida man Ralph Puglisi. Ralph was an accounting manager at the University of South Florida's nonprofit organization, the University Medical Services Association. On the surface, sounds like a pretty boring job. I may love numbers and maths, but accounting is pretty boring. However, Ralph came to a realization one day. Not only did he have access to all of UMSA's credit cards, he also had control over the general ledger. Uh-oh. He's like, wait, I have a credit card for spending, and then I am the one who says whether people are spending correctly or not. Theoretically, if he were so inclined, he could use the credit cards for whatever the hell he wanted and just make up fake expenses for the organization's books. I mean, that sounds like if you get caught, you're going to lose your job, but you're not because you're the guy who's responsible for catching this sort of stuff. But it also sounds very like, that's fraud. That is illegal. That is like, you're going to go to maybe not prison. You probably, because it depends how much it is, right? Since it was his job to check them, I mean, who was even going to notice? And for 5 years, nobody did. During that time, Ralph used the credit cards to make $13 million in fraudulent charges for his own personal gain. That's insane. How do you even spend that much money? Over $1 million of that was paid directly to Ralph and his family in one way or another. There were $120,000 worth of charges for home improvements, $191,000 in rent payments. Jesus Christ. $374,000 in travel and chartering private yachts. Another $674,000 in payments to an LLC owned by Ralph and his wife. Where's the rest of the money? As for the rest, the other $11.5 million was all spent on an adult cam site. This is not possible. But which one? There are just so many. Was it Chatbait, My Free Cams, Cab Soda, Jerkmate, Slot Roulette, Fat Chat, Live Jasmine, Strip Chat? The reporting just doesn't make it clear where he was spending all of this money. But because this is a story about porn, there had to be a stepdaughter involved. Okay, she wasn't actually a stepdaughter yet, but the fiancé of Ralph's stepson was a performer on one of these cam sites. No f***ing shot. Ralph would dump money into her channel, and then they'd split the profit 60-40 with Ralph taking the larger share. Oh, okay, so he's money laundering. Okay, I see. Of course, how the money was paid is unclear. Were these just large donations made while she was offline, or did Ralph just spend 5 years kinda hanging out in her channel and making smaller donations while watching her herself online? Either way, when I first read this, I thought it was pretty brilliant. Don't get me wrong, stealing money from a non-profit medical organization is terrible, but this is a pretty clever way to launder the money. I mean, is it? Isn't this kind of the standard way that money would be laundered? It seems like, okay, well, money goes in, money comes out. Is it that brilliant? He probably thought that if he ever got caught, he could just claim that he had a crippling porn addiction and that they would never suspect that he was actually funneling the cash back to himself. That would have made it less of a crime, but it might have given him the opportunity to negotiate a plea involving addiction therapy or something rather than jail time. Gotta say, Ralph, this is pretty well thought through now. This is quite impressive. However, according to the reporting, Ralph and his stepson's fiancée, which is weird, only split about $750,000 in fees after the cam site took their share. Even if we assume the website is taking half the money, that's still only $1.5 million. That doesn't account for the other $10 million that Ralph embezzled and spent on porn. Was he colluding with other women who weren't identified, or did he really just spend 5 years purchasing ticket shows like they were going out of style? I don't have the answer to that, but in November of 2019, Ralph's embezzlement was finally discovered. Wait, is the reason we don't have an answer to that because, like, in a story about fraud, and it's like, and there's 10 million that's just missing. That is in, like, Ralph's garden buried in a hole. You know it. Allegedly. That's allegedly in Ralph's garden. He was immediately fired from his job, and after an investigation by the FBI, he was charged with mail fraud. I'm guessing that charge was because the UMSA solicited donations through the mail, but it isn't really explained anywhere. I don't know. It's like, fraud's complicated. Maybe mail fraud could cover something like this somehow. You know, you're always like, oh yeah, subsection 16 covers the spending of money on campsites. You never know. Regardless, Ralph pled guilty to these charges. He was ordered to pay back $13 million that he'd stolen in full and sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. Long, but he's not going to be able to pay that money back. And where's that 10 mil, Ralph? Where's the 10 mil, Ralph? Florida man lawyer films porn with female inmates. That is sleazy, son. When Florida man Andrew Spark heard Fall Out Boy's 2007 hit single, I'm like a lawyer with the way I'm always trying to get you off. Fall Out Boy, that is a cringe song title. What the fuck? He must have thought it sounded like a pretty good idea. He wasn't just like a lawyer, he was an actual lawyer, and as such, he should have been trying to get a lot more female inmates off. Not that I suspect a single woman involved in this story actually finished. Don't speculate about Ralph's abilities in... not Ralph. Who the fuck's this guy? Don't speculate about Andrew's abilities in bed. In 2017, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office received a tip that Andrew had been abusing his attorney privileges to have sex with female inmates at Pinellas County Jail. It's turned out this has been going on for years. Even now, the full extent of his actions remains unknown. Andrew would visit inmates in the jail in the private rooms meant for lawyers. These rooms had no cameras, no microphones, and there was only a tiny window in the door so someone could see whether or not the room was occupied. Note that Andrew wasn't even representing any of the women that he met within these rooms. He was just using the fact that he was a lawyer to gain access to the inmates and the private rooms. Once he was alone with the woman, Andrew would pull out his tablet and begin recording. Dick. There's a lot of roleplay in porn online, and prison roleplay is already abundant. But what Andrew wanted to offer people was the real thing. He would begin by filming the inmate in her jail uniform and showing her inmate ID card. Then he would have her describe her jail-themed sexual fantasies while he filmed the room to show that this really was all happening in a jail. I mean, I can't... This... I mean... I don't even know where to begin. This could be faked, surely. And also, it seems like an incredibly dumb idea to have them film the ID, because they're going to work out who it was, dude. They're going to get to you eventually. Well, then maybe they're just extraordinarily incompetent. They would then have sex, Andrew would go home and he would upload the videos to an unnamed porn site, and for the woman's trouble, she would receive $30 to $40 deposited into her commissary account. At least 2 different women in Pinellas County Jail are known to have been exploited by Andrew, and it's believed that he was doing the same thing at other jails in the Tampa Bay area. However, it all fell apart when he approached a 3rd woman in Pinellas County Jail, one whom he had already met. The 3rd woman was an adult film actress who Andrew had previously met at a porn convention and had now found herself behind bars. He went to the prison unannounced to speak with her and met her in one of the private rooms. After telling her that he wasn't able to help her with her case, Andrew then offered to have sex with her for money. You know, since that was her job on the outside anyway. She politely declined, but she did mention the whole thing to her family later. They then contacted the police, who immediately began investigating Andrew. How has this gone on for so long that it requires a tip-off? Surely someone at one of these prisons, who works at one of these many prisons, or in, I don't know, the fucking justice system as a whole, saw one of these videos and had to probably made an anonymous tip-off, right? Because you won't be like, yo, boss, I was on, I don't know, unnamedpornsite.com, and I saw this. You'd just be like, put a note under the boss's door. They then contacted the police, who immediately began investigating Andrew. After gathering some evidence, authorities approached one of the inmates that had already had sex with Andrew at least 6 times by that point. She agreed to turn against him, and so the next time Andrew wanted to come visit, she told the police beforehand. This time when he arrived, the room was bugged with audio and video surveillance. Authorities waited for Andrew to pull down his pants, and then they came in and arrested him. He was charged with soliciting a prostitute, exposure of sexual organs, and possession of contraband in a county detention facility. Right. I guess there's not a bigger crime here, because as weird as it is consensual. Wow. But isn't there such an abuse going on here? There's a definite abuse of power, right? Doesn't that make things different? He pled guilty and was sentenced to 5 years probation for the contraband charge and 1 year probation to run concurrently for the solicitation. So basically, he exploited vulnerable women and faced absolutely no repercussions whatsoever. That's fucking insane. He didn't even lose his legal license? I mean, he was abusing the shit out of it. In 2021, he was disbarred. He said, oh, no legal repercussions. Oh, I guess getting disbarred might not be a legal ramification, but a professional one. Either way, it's about time he got disbarred. But none of this really feels harsh enough. I guess he must have been able to hire a better lawyer than he was. I mean, we don't know if he was a good lawyer or not, to be honest. Maybe he was, because he really got away with it all with this one, did he? Shit. In my opinion, allegedly. Florida man watches porn in his front yard. One of the reasons that the other writers and I are able to produce so much content is because there's not much else to do here in the basement. Plus, if we don't write at least 8,000 words each day, Simon won't give us our rations. You're goddamn right. I've tried to complain that such a harsh requirement isn't fair, but as Simon loves to tell all of us chained up down here, as long as you live under my roof, you live under my rules. He did not appreciate my reply that I'm not living under his roof, I'm living under his floor, which is under the roof, Kevin. I've told you this 1,000 times, Kevin.
Daddy, chill.
Regardless, that phrase has been used countless times for decades, maybe even centuries, usually by parents to try and keep their children in line. Oh my god, the line, why, Dad? Why? Why, Dad? Why? Why, Dad? Why? 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 Because I said so. Because I fucking said so. Such was the case for 21-year-old Florida. This sounds so aggressive. I wouldn't say that to my kids, just to be clear. I'd just say because I said so, not because I said so. Go to bed! Such was the case for 21-year-old Florida man Anthony Smith, who ran afoul of this law back in 2014 thanks to a rule instated by his mother. Oh, she's going to be like, no porn under my roof, so he goes out in the garden. I'm sure there were a number of rules that Anthony's mother imposed, but there was only one that became an issue. He was absolutely not allowed to watch porn in the house. Now, there are a number of possible solutions to this problem. One would be to rely on your imagination instead of looking at porn. No. Another would be to watch films that are technically classified as art, but are absolutely full of naked women. Or, I don't know, watch it in the privacy of your own room with some headphones on. No one will know. No. But Anthony had a different solution, the same solution that many a defiant child has come to when confronted with the My Roof, My Rules doctrine. If he wasn't allowed to watch porn inside the house, he'd just go outside to the front yard to watch his porn, and also to jerk off. What? Dude, Anthony wasn't trying to be discreet either. He would go outside fully nude, crank one out in the driveway, and then go inside and get dressed. That is so fucking depraved, dude. I have to assume that this was happening when his mother wasn't home. Otherwise, I'd expect she would have had some choice words for him. Isn't the whole point of this to say to his mum, fuck you, look at me in the driveway? If he's just doing it when she's not there, why are you doing it inside the house when she's not there? As such, he could have easily just watched porn inside the house and lied about it. That means that he wasn't just doing this because his mum told him to, but because he wanted to. And that's exactly what he told the police when he was arrested in November of 2014. A sheriff's lieutenant pulled up to the house at around 1 p.m. after responding to a call that someone was naked and masturbating in his driveway. Sure enough, the lieutenant pulled up and saw Anthony there. He could have arrested him immediately, but he wanted to see where this was going first. What? You know where it's going. After the money shot. Really, officer? Anthony went back inside, at which point the officer decided that this had gone on just long enough. Anthony was arrested and charged with exposure of a sexual organ. After being arrested, he explained both his mother's anti-pornography rule, as well as the fact that he was doing this outside, turned him on and he wanted people to see. Bro, his mother was like, and he's like, oh my, she's like, not in the house. And he's like, oh my God, I love whacking it outside. Yes, I've discovered my thing. He pled no contest and was sentenced to 6 months probation and $500 in fines and court costs. And he was then arrested in 2022 on the exact same charges, though the charges were eventually abandoned for reasons unknown. What a surprise, this guy's a repeat offender. Florida woman sets fire to a house of food porn. What? In 1990, Florida man Francisco Blanco tasted sushi for the first time. He absolutely loved it, but he was a poor high school student, so it's not like he could afford to go to sushi restaurants all the time. Instead, he learned to make it himself in a way to save money, and he got really good at it, but he was disappointed that his Cuban parents refused to eat raw fish whenever he prepared it. Instead, he decided to take traditional Cuban dishes and prepare them to look like sushi rolls, which his parents immediately fell in love with. It's a curious little business he's got going there. It's a good idea. Fusion. Fast forward to 2016, and Francisco finally got to live his dream. He opened his own restaurant featuring Cuban dishes disguised as sushi rolls. And for some reason, he named it the House of Food Porn. Well, because food porn is like really good looking food. And this kind of makes sense. In theory, this is the sort of place where I would have loved to try out back when I lived in Miami, as it was in Miami that I discovered I love both sushi and Cuban food. However, the restaurant is by reservation only and looks to cost over $100 per person. So there's no shot that my broke college ass could have ever afforded to go anyway. Still pretty expensive. $100? Oh, are we talking like for the whole meal or like for a plate? But it was at this restaurant that 43-year-old Florida woman Velgan Verdier is alleged to have set fire to a chair in a tent outside of the restaurant that was used to store spare chairs and tables, protecting them from the rain. What is going on? Security footage showed her walking up, setting the fire, and then leaving. She was arrested and charged with second-degree arson, but there's absolutely no known motive for the crime. Realistically, it was probably just a random act from someone who is mentally unwell. Velen is a homeless woman in Miami who has an extensive criminal record including cocaine, assault, more cocaine, a triple kidnapping, more cocaine, and throwing a deadly missile. That's just like a rock or something. The case hasn't gone to court yet, but seeing as the House of Food Porn's cameras clearly showed her do it, I think it's reasonable to assume that she will be found guilty, or maybe insane. Good luck getting an acquittal or a plea bargain in the face of that video evidence. Florida woman arrested for sex with teen stepson. Oh, God. Our final story today doesn't involve actual pornography, but it is literally the plot hole to like 90% of porn on the internet. I feel like if I say this, people will be like, bro, come on. I don't understand the appeal of this, and I don't know why it's so popular. To me, it's very strange, but statistics show that most of you watching this, is that true? But you look on a porn site and it's like the most popular stuff is this, and it's like, this is weird, dude. It's weird. Alexis Von Yates was a 34-year-old Florida woman living in Marion County. She'd been married for 6 years to a man who had at least one child from his first marriage. From what I can gather, they appear to have had a couple of kids together, and he had at least one from his first marriage, though it's possible all of the children were from his first marriage. It's not entirely clear. Regardless, her teenage stepson actually lived with his mother but was visiting for summer vacation in 2024. Note that because this case is so recent, everything that happened is alleged and from the viewpoint of the stepson. An arrest was made only in November of 2024, so none of this has gone to trial yet, and Alexis has not made any statements on the matter. Anyway, the boy was infatuated with his stepmother, and she had some inappropriate feelings toward him as well.
That is f***ed up.
Alexis was frequently making sexual jokes in front of the boy, as well as talking about how horny she was. After this went on for about a week, it was finally for shit to go down. It began at about 1 a.m. one night. The other children had been in bed for hours, and Alexis's husband was at work. She and her stepson were up late watching a horror movie, but they both got bored. According to her stepson, she then said how horny she was. He asked if she wanted to cuddle on the couch with him, which she did. Cuddling then turned to kissing, and Alexis says that she wished her stepson was 18.
Nasty, dude.
According to the boy, though, she wasn't actually that concerned with his status as a minor because the quickly turned into much more. The victim described everything that happened in an interview with a specialist from a local child advocacy centre. Wait, how old was this kid? Although that statement does not appear to be available anywhere, according to the reporting, it got extremely graphic at that point. The two continued until Alexis's husband came home and caught them naked together on the couch. At that point, the victim ran to his room while Alexis had to sit there naked on the couch and explain herself. She apologized to her husband before defending herself by saying that her stepson just looked like a younger version of him. Oh, Alexis, what the fuck? Even without seeing pictures of them either, I'm confident in saying that yes, that is how genetics work. People look like their parents. However, most step-parents don't take that as a green light to have sex with their stepchildren. God, I can only imagine what Alexis would have done if her husband had a twin brother. Fucking Alexis. Of course, despite the apology to her husband, Alexis wasn't really sorry, at least not according to her stepson's statement. He claimed that he called Alexis the next day and she said how good he was in bed, or in this case, I guess on the couch, and that she wished they hadn't been caught. This alleged incident was first reported to the sheriff's office via an anonymous tip on July the 30th. The husband, allegedly. It wasn't until August the 30th that the victim was interviewed and Alexis wasn't arrested until November the 6th. It's unclear why everything took so long, but it's possible that the family was working together to protect Alexis. During his interview, the victim stated that multiple relatives had told him not to say in the interview what Alexis had done.
No.
Can you imagine if it was the other way round? If the gender was the other way round? It would seem insane. He also expressed anger that his family was trying to cover up what happened, though it's difficult to say exactly why without access to the full report. It's possible that he truly felt like the victim of a child predator and was angry that his family was trying to protect Alexis. Based on the information available, however, I'm not convinced that that was the reason for his anger. It sounds like he was really proud about banging his stepmom and was just annoyed that everybody wanted to keep it a secret. That is speculation. I could definitely be wrong. Fucking cracking speculation though, Kevin, allegedly, in my opinion. On November the 4th, Alexis took to Instagram to post, "Happy anniversary to my sweet and handsome hubby. So thankful for the man that you are to me and our children. Cheers to year 7. On November the 6th, she was arrested for lewd and lascivious behavior on a victim between the ages of 12 and 16. Sounds like she was more thankful about the children than about her husband. Oh, that's the end of the episode. That's it. Chat bait, my free cams, cab soda, jerk mate, slot roulette, trap chat, live jasmine, strip chat,